Scarlet Marvel here, and happy Pride! With this year's Pride Month coming to an end, I wanted to keep the celebration going by looking into the history of Marvel's LGBTQ plus superheroes. It's taken a long time for queer superheroes to become as prominent as they are today. In fact, for a long time, queer characters were banned from comic books. Because of this, a majority of Marvel's queer heroes were revealed as queer many years, even decades, after they first appeared. Even so, LGBTQ heroes are finally thriving as prominent parts of the Marvel Universe. So, let's discover how they got here by diving into the complex history of Marvel's LGBTQ plus superheroes. But before we get started, I want to hear from you. So let me know who is your favorite of Marvel's LGBTQ plus superheroes down in the comments below. Prior to the 1990s, LGBTQ characters at Marvel were essentially non-existent. This was mostly thanks to 1954's Comics Code Authority, which forbade LGBTQ characters from appearing in comic books for several decades. Despite this, a significant number of heroes from Marvel's first 4 decades were eventually confirmed to be LGBTQ characters, including Clairvoyant, the original Black Widow from the 1940s, and from the 1960s, Western hero Rawhide Kid, rock alien Korg, god of mischief Loki, World War II hero Pinky Pinkerton, Olympian god Hercules, and most prominently, Iceman of the original X-Men. From the 1970s, eventual queer heroes included sorceress Jennifer Kale, telepath Moondragon, Asgardian warrior Valkyrie, demon siblings Satana and Daemon Hellstrom, Wakandan revolutionary Venom, World War II superheroes Union Jack and Destroyer, telepathic mutant Betsy Braddock, and master thief Black Cat. Additionally, several major heroes such as Iron Man, Bucky Barnes, Human Torch, Storm, and Wolverine have been interpreted as queer by fans and comic writers, with no official confirmation. By the late 70s, creatives at Marvel wanted to introduce LGBTQ characters, leading to the creations of mutant shapeshifter Mystique and Alpha Flight member Northstar. Despite being created as queer characters, the Comics Code Authority prevented them from being revealed as queer until decades later. In the 1980s, Marvel's editor-in-chief, Jim Shooter, set a no gays in the Marvel Universe policy at a time when creatives were eager to introduce LGBTQ characters into Marvel's ever-expanding universe. So, these creatives found ways to work around this policy by hinting at queer characters without directly referencing them as queer. X-Men comics led the charge here, with Mystique and Northstar continuing to feature, alongside other eventual LGBTQ characters, such as young phaser Kitty Pryde, telepathic New Mutant Karma, telepath from the future Rachel Summers, Mystique's prophetic lover Destiny, Japanese ninja Yukio, and seismic manipulator Richter. Cloud of the Defenders was also significant as a cosmic superhero who struggled to navigate their gender fluidity. Other characters of this decade eventually revealed as queer include Power Pack member Julie Power, Tamara Blake, the Iron Cat, Captain America ally D-Man, and Great Lakes Avengers member Flatman. In 1980, Marvel's first canonically gay characters were introduced as minor antagonists in Hulk magazine, a publication that did not follow the Comics Code Authority. This representation was heavily criticized for the character's involvement in the attempted sexual assault of Bruce Banner. Luckily, in 1982, Arnie Roth was introduced as a supporting character in Captain America comics, becoming Marvel's first positive portrayal of a gay character. As LGBTQ acceptance became more widespread, the Comics Code Authority finally lifted their ban on queer characters in 1989, paving the way for Marvel's first LGBTQ superheroes to come out in the 1990s. In the 1990s, Marvel finally introduced their first LGBTQ superheroes, but their stories were mostly stereotypically offensive or too shallow and short-lasting to leave a significant impact. In 1992, Northstar became Marvel's first gay superhero when he came out in Alpha Flight number 106. While this was monumental, Northstar's coming out was part of an awkward, stereotypical AIDS storyline. And after coming out, Northstar's sexuality went unmentioned for many years, even in his 1994 solo series, making the representation seem non-existent. Also in 1992, Victoria Montesi was introduced as Marvel's first lesbian hero in Darkhold, Pages from the Book of Sins. She joined the supernatural hero team, Midnight Suns, and remained a main character of the Darkhold comic until its cancellation in 1994. After this, she became absent from comics for over 20 years. In 1994, Marvel introduced their first trans character, empathic mutant Jesse Drake, who appeared in a 2-issue storyline before disappearing from comics for nearly 30 years. Late in the decade, Jennifer Kale was reintroduced in Ghost Rider as one of Marvel's first bisexual heroes. Many other eventually queer heroes were introduced in the 90s, including Time Manipulator Tempo, Electric Avenger Living Lightning, Other Dimensional Mutant Shatterstar, Mercenary Amy Chen, Skrull Krilku member Riot, Thunderbolts member Joystick, Captain America ally Ricky Barnes, the second Black Widow Yelena Belova, and most prominently, the Mark with a Mouth, Deadpool. This decade also featured many gay minor supporting characters, with several comics attempting AIDS storylines, to varying, but mostly negative, degrees of success. As Marvel entered the 21st century, their attempts at integrating LGBTQ superheroes increased, complete with Marvel's first positive queer portrayals. But flawed representations remained common. X-Men comics were the main place for queer representation, with many LGBTQ heroes introduced, including Ecstatics member Dupe, Pheromone Manipulator Stacy X, Deadpool ally Negasonic Teenage Warhead, Mutant Cyborg Phantom X, Reptilian Mutant Anil, Metallic Mutant Mercury, Knowledge-Absorbing Telepath Prodigy, Emma Frost's brother, Christian Frost, Hawaiian Phaser Loa, Fairy-like Mutant Pixie, Diamond Mutant Bling, Light-Powered Mutant Grey Malkin, and most prominently, Wolverine's anti-hero son, Daken. The X-Factor comic included the decade's most significant positive moment of queer representation, with Richter and Shatterstar becoming a couple and sharing Marvel's first on-panel gay kiss between superheroes. Despite this, X-Men comics were not immune to negative portrayals, with Northstar being killed off 3 separate times in April of 2005, becoming an over-the-top example of the bury your gays trope, which defines the phenomenon of queer characters dying more often than their straight counterparts. Other queer mutants were introduced through Marvel's multiverse, including Mariko Yashida as Sunfire of the Exiles, and Colossus from the Ultimate Universe. The Ultimate Universe also introduced Spider-Woman as a lesbian superhero. This decade featured the debuts of the Runaways and the Young Avengers, young superhero teams that introduced some of Marvel's most significant queer heroes, with luminous lesbian hero Carolina Dean of the Runaways, and fan-favorite power couple, Sorcerer Wiccan and alien hero Hulkling of the Young Avengers. Additionally, Nico Minoru, mystical Runaways leader, and Speed, Wiccan's brother and fellow Young Avenger, would come out as bisexual in the following decade. Runaways also introduced Zavin, a shape-shifting, gender-fluid alien hero. Freedom Ring was another new young hero, who despite being announced as Marvel's signature gay hero, was controversially killed off only a few months after his debut. Another significant queer hero introduced this decade was Phyla-Vell, the artificially created daughter of the original Captain Marvel. She began a relationship with Moondragon, with the two heroes becoming prominent members of the Guardians of the Galaxy, until Phyla-Vell's death at the series' conclusion. Another example of the bury your gays trope. Other LGBTQ heroes from this decade include cosmic hero Marvel Boy, Guardians of the Galaxy leader Star-Lord, Squadron Supreme member Inertia, Korg's boyfriend Heroim, S.H.I.E.L.D. agents Jacob O and Victoria Hand, Alana Jobson, the second Jackpot, Secret Warriors member Stonewall, and Aneka of the Dora Milaje. Perhaps Marvel's most controversial queer character of the decade was Rawhide Kid, who was introduced as a gay hero in his own series as part of Marvel's mature Max line. This comic was criticized for its campy, stereotypical portrayal, as well as for its inclusion in the Marvel Max line, despite being incredibly tame, making it appear as though its mature label was simply for having a gay lead. Other queer characters starred in their own comics, with little focus on their sexualities, including Mystique, Hercules, Phyla-Vell, Deadpool, Daken, and Ricky Barnes. Several team books also prominently featured queer characters, such as Runaways, Young Avengers, Witches, and X-Factor. Outside of comics, LGBTQ characters were ignored as Marvel expanded into Hollywood, although Fox's X-Men trilogy was seen as a metaphor for the discrimination experienced by the LGBTQ community. This was made particularly clear through a scene in X2, where Iceman comes out to his family as a mutant, in a way reminiscent of queer people's real-world coming out experiences. In the 2010s, LGBTQ heroes were finally introduced in large numbers, and with mostly positive representations, marking a drastic improvement from previous decades. Once again, X-Men comics remain a prominent place for LGBTQ representation, with several queer heroes being introduced, including shapeshifter Benjamin Deeds as Morph, Wolverine clone Gabby Kinney, Simon Lasker, the Second Pyro, and Nathaniel Carver as Hindsight. Additionally, Northstar finally had an on-panel kiss with his boyfriend, Kyle Jinadu, in 2011's Alpha Flight number 1, before the couple got married in 2012's Astonishing X-Men number 51, as the first gay wedding in mainstream comics. In 2015's all-new X-Men number 40, Iceman came out as gay in a controversial story where he's outed by Jean Grey through her telepathic powers. Despite the circumstances around his coming out, Iceman instantly became one of Marvel's most popular gay superheroes, even receiving his own solo series that introduced additional queer characters through non-binary mutant Madden and superhero drag queen Darkveil. The Young Avengers were another team with strong queer representation, as Wiccan and Hulkling became engaged after sharing their first on-panel kiss together in 2010's Avengers: The Children's Crusade number 9. The couple returned in 2013's Young Avengers series alongside new cosmic lesbian hero, America Chavez, who became a fan favorite, even starring in her own solo series. Another team member was Loki, with the character being revealed as bisexual, before starring in solo series Loki, Agent of Asgard, where Loki was further confirmed as gender fluid. Other young LGBTQ heroes introduced include Avengers Academy member Stryker, mystical hero Cullen Bloodstone, Raz Malhotra, the newest Giant Man, Fourth Wall Breaker Gwenpool, Viv Vision, the daughter of Vision, Nadia Van Dyne, the Unstoppable Wasp, superpowered siblings Alloy and Fuse, and Wasp allies Ying Liu and Shay Smith. This decade also featured some of Marvel's first trans heroes, including Fantastic Four ally Tong, Jake Young as armored hero Trace, Squirrel Girl ally Koi Boy, Hulk ally Dr. Charlene McGowan, and Angel Sorceress Sarah, who formed a relationship with fellow new queer hero, Angela, the long-lost sister of Thor, who starred in her own solo series. Several other heroic queer couples were introduced, including Tech Avengers Pod and Dr. Tony Ho, and Fearless Defenders Ren Kimura and Annabelle Riggs. Additionally, Aneka and new hero Io became a couple in 2016's Black Panther: World of Wakanda. Carolina Dean and Nico Minoru began dating in 2018's Runaways number 12. Moondragon and Phyla-Vell were reunited through multiversal variants in the Infinity Wars crossover event. And Mystique and Destiny were finally officially confirmed to have dated, with their first on-panel kiss in 2019's History of the Marvel Universe number 2. Other new queer heroes yet to be mentioned include Inhumans Telekinian and Captain Swain, the newest Quasar, Avril Kincaid, Vun, the original Starbrand, and Japanese hero Protector. More queer heroes than ever before received solo series in this decade, including Betsy Braddock, Rawhide Kid, Loki, Daken, Hercules, Deadpool, Dupe, Angela, Gwenpool, Wasp, America Chavez, Iceman, Shatterstar, and Black Cat. Several team books also prominently featured queer heroes, such as Young Avengers, Runaways, and Asgardians of the Galaxy. Outside of comics, LGBTQ heroes still struggled to find accurate representation. Although, a few appeared as supporting characters. Deadpool was the most prominent queer hero in Marvel cinema, starring in 2 movies, with Negasonic Teenage Warhead and Yukio appearing in supporting roles as Marvel's first on-screen gay couple. In the MCU, Loki, Valkyrie, Io, and Korg appeared in several movies, although their queerness was never even mentioned, with the only queer character in the MCU's Infinity Saga being a minor gay character in Captain America's support group at the start of Avengers Endgame. We've made it to the 2020s, where LGBTQ superheroes are finally integral parts of every corner of the Marvel Universe, with new characters being introduced in large numbers, and past characters becoming more prominent. The decade began with the long-awaited wedding of Wiccan and Hulkling in the Empire crossover event that featured Hulkling as one of the main characters. Within the story, Hulkling became Emperor of the United Kree and Skrull Empires, becoming one of Marvel's most politically powerful characters. Several other queer heroes leveled up, including Betsy Braddock becoming Captain Britain, Iceman pushing his Omega-level powers to their limit, and Black Cat using her skills to steal all of the Infinity Stones. X-Men comics were yet again the most prominent place for LGBTQ representation, with new queer heroes including Winged Mutant Galura, Telekinetic Leonara Eng, Botanopath Brother Nature, Cat-like Mutant Cam Long, Dream Manipulator Somnus, Deadpool's non-binary lover, Valentine Vuong, Place-switching mutant Escapade, and fairy-like mutant Aura Charles. Somnus and Escapade are particularly noteworthy for quickly integrating themselves into superhero teams. New X-Men related team, Children of the Atom, introduced several queer characters, including Gimmick, Marvel Guy, and team leader Cyclops Lass. Another new superhero team, Super Trans, was made up entirely of trans mutants. Other new LGBTQ heroes include Spider-Verse variants Sun Spider and Webweaver, Strange Academy student Zoe Laveau, Aaron Fisher, the Captain America of the Railways, and Runya, the newest Valkyrie. Many queer heroes have had solo comics in this decade, including Deadpool, America Chavez, Black Cat, Hulkling and Wiccan, Iceman, Iron Cat, Viv Vision, Captain Britain, Negasonic Teenage Warhead, Karma, Gwenpool, Aaron Fisher Captain America, and Loki. LGBTQ heroes have also been featured in team comics, such as Guardians of the Galaxy, New Mutants, Children of the Atom, Young Avengers, and Runaways. Additionally, every Pride Month since 2021, Marvel has released Marvel's Voices Pride one-shots, celebrating many of their LGBTQ superheroes. Outside of comics, queer heroes are finally being featured in the MCU, but their queer identities remain minor parts of their stories. Loki and his variant Sylvie were confirmed as bisexual in the Loki Disney Plus series, but their gender fluidity was not accurately represented, causing some controversy amongst fans. Phastos became the MCU's first gay superhero in Eternals, also having the MCU's first gay kiss with his husband. Young queer heroes, Wiccan, Speed, and America Chavez, all made their debuts in Phase 4, but their sexualities have yet to be confirmed on screen. Valkyrie and Korg both expressed their sexualities in minor ways in Thor: Love and Thunder, and Black Panther: Wakanda Forever confirmed Io and Aneka to be in a relationship through subtle dialogue and a forehead kiss. Overall, LGBTQ representation in the MCU remains small, but the future looks bright as creatives continue to promise fans that more LGBTQ superheroes are on the way. With Loki Season 2 and Deadpool 3 coming soon, we will have queer leads in upcoming Marvel projects, with, hopefully, more queer heroes appearing in other projects as well. Marvel's LGBTQ heroes have come a long way, from non-existent to core parts of the Marvel Universe. It's taken a long time, and a lot of hard work from talented creators to bring so many queer superheroes to the Marvel Universe we all know and love. After all, it's Marvel's goal to represent the world outside your window, and that includes showcasing the wonderful diversity of gender and sexuality. Nowadays, queer heroes are fan favorites, such as Loki, Iceman, America Chavez, and Wiccan and Hulkling. Still, there's so many amazing queer heroes that have yet to find the spotlight they deserve. So, I'm excited to see how all these heroes continue to grow, and I'm also excited to see all the creative new queer heroes that are sure to be introduced in the years to come. This video was so much fun to make. Thanks for joining me. I hope you learned something, and let me know what you thought of it down in the comments below. Remember to tell me your favorite LGBTQ hero as well. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to check out the playlist of other history of videos right over here, and otherwise check out any of the other marvelous videos on this channel, and have an awesome day, and keep celebrating Pride all year round. Bye!